Today's lesson is inspired by the Stevie Vaughan song Dirty Pool, which is off his first album, Texas Flood. And specifically, we're going to be looking at some chord techniques used in the solo. Up until this point in my lessons, we've been looking primarily at major triads based on the three primary first position shapes that we've moved up and down the neck, incorporated into solos based on the techniques of some famous guitar players. Today, when we're looking at Texas Flood and the song Dirty Pool in particular, we're looking at a minor blues. Stevie plays it in D minor. Of course, he's tuned down a half a step, so if you were playing along in standard tuning, it would be D flat. I'm going to be showing you the chords based around an E minor 12-bar blues progression, just for the sake of simplicity. So the three chords in the progression will be E minor, A minor, and B minor. So in the solo of Dirty Pool, Stevie employs a right-hand technique called tremolo picking, which is essentially a rapid-fire picking technique, whether over a single note or over a chord. Again, if he's in D flat, it would be somewhat like that, although much better, of course. What I'm going to do is I'm going to really slow it down, again, mainly just to show you the chord forms and the shapes and how to move them about the neck. It's going to be more about the left hand than the right hand. If you want to later, incorporate the tremolo picking, that's awesome. So naturally, you wouldn't typically play an entire 12-bar blues solo just by playing the chord shapes up and down the neck. If you're as good as Stevie Ray was and you can accompany it with that rapid-fire tremolo picking, it might work. But more to the point of this exercise, you just want to gain some fluency with these chord shapes so you know where all the versions of E minor are all over the neck, all the versions of A minor, all the versions of B minor, and every major and minor triad for that matter. And that way you can be tossing in chord shaped licks to spice up your soloing rather than playing in a whole solo just of chord shapes. Alright, so before we break down what I played, just a very quick review of how to turn those major triads into minor triads. It's a very simple matter of dropping the third in the triad 1/2 step. Okay, so you're going to go 1 fret down. If we look at the first position E shape to E minor, as I've said in other lessons, it's easier to see that shape if you look at it all fretted. So if we bring it up to an F, to make it into an F minor, you're moving that third, the A, on the third string, down to an A flat on the first fret. And really we're just looking at the top 3 or 4 strings when we're playing these movable chord shapes around. So again, F major, F minor. And you know this when you play bar chord. The next shape is the A shape. Again, we're dropping the third, which in an A major is C sharp. We're dropping it down to a C, so that's on the second string. And when you play that shape up the neck, you have to bring that first finger down on the first fret to fill in. As you know with your B minor shape that you probably know very well if you play bar chords. And then the third one is the D shape. The third is F sharp. We're going to lower that to F natural. And of these three shapes, it's the only one that is not typically played as a bar chord. So what I did in that little 12-bar exercise, I started off over the one, which was an E minor. So I started with the E shape of E minor. I'm going to go up the neck. The next one would be the D minor shape of E minor. The root is on the second string. It's an E. Then the next one up the neck would be at the 7th fret. It's going to be the A minor shape of the E minor. And then going all the way up to your octave of your E minor shape. So by the time we got to that 12th fret octave of the E shape, the chord progression was changing to the A minor, okay, for the next two bars. And so we want to look for what's the closest A minor. And there we are, just like in the Neil Young lesson I showed you. If you're already right there at the 12th fret, you most likely can find the next chord that you're looking for very close by. And sure enough, there's an A minor right there. It's the octave of the A minor form, A minor shape of the A minor. Okay. And then I just went down quickly on the A minors by hitting that one, the one at the 8th fret, D minor shape, 5th fret, which is the E minor shape, and then back to the 1, which is, of course, our E minor shape of the E minor. Now the chord progression goes to back to the A. So then I ascended with the A minors, the same forms I just showed you. And then I went up to the 17th fret, which is the octave of this version. So we actually played this version twice, once at the 5th fret, once at the 17th fret. That's the E minor shape. And then I just went down those shapes. The same shapes again. All the A shapes. The A minor shapes we're looking at that I play in that progression, they don't change depending on the part of the progression. Then it came to the 5. There's your B minor of the A minor shape, the 2nd fret, of the E minor shape at the 7th fret, of the D minor shape at the 10th fret, right, 2nd position root, or 2nd string root, and then the octave at the 14th, right, we're just playing this, an octave higher. Then I just did the same thing with an A minor. And then back to the 1. So what we're dealing with here really is very simple. There's just 3 versions of each of these 3 chords. And the only reason we're seeing more than 3 is we're playing above the octave, right? Where the fretboard is more than 12 frets long, so several of these shapes are repeated. But if you want to keep it very simple, with the E minor, there's your E minor shape, there's your D minor shape, there's your A minor shape. With the A minor, there's your A minor shape, here's your E minor shape, here's your D minor shape, and then with the B minor, here's your A minor shape, E minor shape, D minor shape. If you don't like thinking of them in terms of what they're formed by in the first position, you can think of them by where the root note is. You know, so again with the E minor shape, the root is on the first string, right? With the D minor shape, the root's on the second string. And with the A minor shape, the root's on the third string. So maybe that's a better way to think of it for some of you. It just depends on how your brain works. One other note, you may have noticed when I'm playing, I will often keep the first 3 strings barred, even if I'm not playing the E shape. The E shape requires a bar, so if I'm switching from that E shape to, say, the A shape, there's no real reason to move anything with my first finger. Might as well keep that barred. It allows for more flexibility. And similarly, if we were shifting from that E shape of the A minor to this chord, which is an F sharp minor, we can tell that because of the root note there on the second string, then again, I could just keep that barred. So when you're flying around the neck, it's really much easier to just leave that barred for flexibility, if nothing else. So practice these over an E minor backing track. I'm going to play out my E minor backing track so you can do that. But practice over other chord progressions as well so that you have all the chords, not just E, A, and B minor. Have some fun with it, and hope that helps, and I will see you next time.